In our news bulletin for this evening, the United Nations team held an in-country consultation in Niue to discuss joint priorities for support to Niue. A new Chief Executive Officer has been appointed to lead Telecom Niue. Local residents were surprised by hailstones following the thunderstorm on Monday evening. Concerns for the marine environment with the increase of waste at the wharf. Niue High School plans to roll out a multi-skill building construction program offered by Unitec. Awasele's Marine Day returned with an abundance of fish caught on Saturday. Niue's in-country consultation had core government agencies and stakeholders from the community discussing the joint priorities for the United Nations support to Niue from 2018 to 2022. The UN mission team arrived on Tuesday with representatives from UNDP, UNESCO, UNICEF, UN Women, and other key partners from the UN agencies that work in the Pacific. Niue is the 11th country out of 14 in the Pacific to have such discussions, and the United Nations Pacific Strategy in-country consultations are a component of the process and a key driver of a strategy built from national engagement and partnerships to ensure alignment with national development priorities. The consultation session held yesterday with stakeholders from different sectors within the community was a process to build rapport with counterparts on island.
I think we learned a great deal yesterday from listening to the people of Niue. The group that's discussed education, and I should mention that what we did was break the Sustainable Development Agenda into 4 groups, because as you know there are 17 Sustainable Development Goals. One was around education, and the main focus we learned yesterday from the people of Niue was that we need to do more to support you in preserving your culture, your language. People are very, I think, nervous about the fact that English is taking over and that the Niuean language needs to be protected. So this is one very important discovery for us, and I believe that UNESCO and UN Women, who were present in that group, agreed to investigate how they could work in collaboration and in partnership through a joint effort to assist the Niuean people in this goal.
The session had been organized to foster a clearer understanding of the strategy, process and the role of partners in the planning and implementation of the framework in order to reach an agreement with national stakeholders on the possible areas of the UN support based on national priorities and comparative advantages and mandate of the United Nations, together with the input of the evaluation that will contribute to the formulation of the next strategy. Group discussions looked at identifying national priorities and linking those to the Sustainable Development Goals.
All countries in the world have agreed to try to attain these goals. And that means that when we talk about clean energy, we're talking about big countries also having a lot to do to meet these goals. It's a lot different than the last time where countries who were considered developing countries had goals that they needed to reach. This time everybody has work to do. And another big difference of the SDGs compared to the MDGs, these goals are considered universal, indivisible. That means that everybody has a role to play. They're considered interconnected. All of these goals affect the other goals. Each goal is interrelated to the others. So you cannot think about gender. You cannot think about climate action if you're not thinking about renewable energy, if you're not thinking about very inclusive economic growth, for example. This set of goals is ambitious, but the whole idea is to change the mindset from thinking about governments doing for people to governments working with people, civil society groups, the press. I mean, you have a big role to play. And thanks for asking the question, because that's part of it. Having people understand, what are these SDGs? What is my responsibility?
The Sustainable Development Goals replace the Millennium Development Goals, and Niue is one of only 2 islands in the Pacific who attain the MDGs. But there is always work to do in order to progress forward. The vision, however, is to have inclusive progress and taking what governments and people would like from the United Nations.
We have heard from both government and people here. We have heard your wishes. The government in particular would like to see systems and the processes to attain big projects sped up. We are here with experts to talk with your experts and your government workers on how we can do that. Are there ways where we can ensure that we are not lagging behind? It is true that Niue has, in times gone by, taken a lot of time, and I'm not going to play a blame game because these processes are highly complex, and it is not always the fault of the Niueans or of UNDP or of the actual funding entity. It is a complex process.
The team will be leaving the island tomorrow and are on their way to the Cook Islands next week. Once the consultation process has been completed, the UN system will meet in Fiji in November to try to collectively construct a document that has adequate coverage of what the 14 countries in the Pacific want in terms of support from the United Nations. Colin Talamahina, a New Zealand-born Niuean, has been appointed as the Chief Executive Officer for Telecom Niue starting last Monday. Telecom Niue is now a company with the government as the main shareholder, and the Chief Executive Officer is a new position to manage its day-to-day operations. Mr. Talamahina brings vast experience in information communication technology and has been working in Australia and New Zealand. Mr. Jules Mayer, who was brought in to help restructure Telecom Niue from a government-owned entity to a private company, has finished his term and returned to New Zealand. Mr. Avi Rubin, a director on the board of Telecom, wouldn't elaborate more on Mr. Talamahina's term and contract with Telecom Niue. However, it is understood to be a 3-year term. Mr. Rubin says that with Mr. Talamahina now at the helm as the new CEO, it's business as usual at Telecom Niue. Some locals were intrigued by the rare sight of hailstones following a thunderstorm on Monday evening. Reports surfaced from residents in Alofi North and a few others on the island about this rare occurrence. According to the Niue Meteorological Service, this phenomena is very rare for Niue and normally happens in cooler countries like New Zealand, but it has occurred before to the northeastern side of the island years ago. On Monday, there was a trough to the north of Niue that consisted of rain and thunderstorms, where cumulonimbus clouds, which create thunderstorms, produced this hail. Hail formations are possible within most thunderstorms and require environments of strong upward motion of air with the parent thunderstorm and lowered heights of the freezing level. Whilst the thunder and lightning had some people a bit uneasy, the discovery of hailstones proved to be rather intriguing and exciting for locals, and photos have been circulating via social media. An Alofi Marine Day cleanup was held last week at the wharf and surrounding areas following reports of a build-up of waste underwater. Local non-government organisation Omatafua and dive operators raised their concerns with the Department of Transport Maritime Division because of the adverse effects that such rubbish has on the marine environment. A team of volunteers scaled the reef while divers also assisted to extract some of that rubbish.
On Monday last week, they held the Alofi Oceans Day, and they've informed me that there are car tyres and tractor tyres down here in the channel. However, because the island passage was in, they weren't able to collect them, so they will be collected at a later date. They've also found fishing lines, beer cans, Coke cans, and other rubbish as well.
Although it is not clear where this rubbish has come from, there is a need for a collective approach to minimize waste. There are those who have commented that some of the waste could be from the increased number of yachts that are also at bay. However, the Commodore of the Niue Yacht Club, Keith Vile, says that there is an understanding amongst yachties not to dump rubbish overboard. It is also part of the laws of the sea. There are also heavy penalties for those who dump rubbish, and he believes that there may be various factors that have contributed to the build of waste at the main port in town. The team of volunteers also had their own theories behind the rubbish they had collected. There are also bins that have been set by the quarantine division at the wharf, specifically for yachties to place their rubbish. But what is now becoming apparent is that there are locals who are also using these bins.
They seem to think it's from the users on the wharf, mainly if you look at the fishing lines and also some of the cans that they've found as well. There is a possibility, high likelihood, that some of the rubbish from on land has come down into the sea because they did start off a few days before that collecting the rubbish up there, and even when we were collecting on the wharf, one of the volunteers did notice when they came down Utuko Sea Track a lot of the cans, so it seems maybe some of the youth on a Saturday night perhaps are congregating in certain spots and they aren't removing their rubbish. I did find some nails, but it was closer here to the channel.
The general message at this point is for those who frequent the wharf to be mindful, to properly dispose of waste and minimize the adverse effects and impacts this rubbish would have on the marine environment. Niue High School is looking at offering a multi-skill building construction program next year as part of technical vocational education and training initiatives. The certificate on offer aims to provide alternative pathways for students to study at NCEA level and will be incorporated into the existing school programs.
Unitec is gifting the multi-skill program to Niue, so the idea is for Niue to badge it themselves and sort of run it, everything, and they can do any moderation can be done through the ITO and that sort of thing. For the students, girls and guys, great to have the girls on board too. For the students, it just gives them a taste of different trades. It's all hands-on. That we try to do as much hands-on as possible. Any assessment is hopefully done with them producing the projects. There is some written work, so that they will need to have some literacy skills there. But it gives them a certificate which basically says that, okay, I've tried out, I know some basic skills, let's move on to the next level, whatever that level might be, pre-trade, hopefully. Back at Unitec in Auckland, we have the multi-skill program, which is over 17 weeks, 3 days per week, and we do 5 different programs within that 17 weeks. It's all level 2, and it's the basic skills. So we do basic skills in carpentry for 5 weeks, joinery 4 weeks, and using hand tools and portables and machines. And then we do plumbing and plastering and painting. So the guys build walls, and then they put plasterboard, chipboard sheets on, and they plaster it. And then they do painting and decorating, and sometimes they do a little bit of wallpapering, and sometimes a bit of stenciling as well on top of that.
Course topics cover a wide range of core skills specialized to the trades. Mr. Gorman says that they are also looking forward to sourcing local tutors to assist with the course, and Unitec would be more than happy to upskill any staff or tutors. And conversations have also been held discussing possibility of the secondment of Unitec staff to come to Niue. This week, discussions have been held with the school and parents to ensure that the resources, tools and expertise are in place in order for Niue High School to successfully implement this course in Niue.
I've just done an audit, a couple of sheets on the tools that are here at the moment, and depending on what the tutors or the school want to do, you might need to get a few other bits and pieces. But as far as the carpentry and joinery, then it's pretty well there. There will be, I think there will need to be a few extra tools brought, but the basics are there. The multi-skill program is adaptable. It can be, you don't have to do the ones that we do at Unitec. You can bring in other courses within that program and still achieve the certificate in multi-skills. So it can be adaptable to the needs of the island and the needs of the island in the future, whatever that might look like. And also the plumbing, we do quite a lot of sheet metal projects. but you can, and also welding, but then you might want to concentrate more on, fitting out a bathroom or just the basics of that sort of pipe work and things like that.
Although the initial talks are for secondary school students, there is also a potential for the certificate to be offered to adult students and others in the community.
People who are unemployed or who are in jobs that don't feel as though they're going anywhere, this could be an opportunity for these people to come and join in. Again, preliminary talks, but it'd be quite good to have it outside of the timetable that a school is restricted to, so that others can come in and sort of do block times here and not, come on a period one day and a period two the next. Have it so that it's more adaptable for the outsiders to come in and join with the school students.
Details are still being discussed, but the course will be introduced to Niue High School in 2017. Perfect conditions last Saturday delivered good returns for fishermen competing in the Awasele Village Marine Day. The Awasele Beach and ramp area were packed with visitors and locals anxiously awaiting the arrival of the many canoes and boat fishermen who had registered for the competition. More than 50 canoe fishermen ventured out to sea in the early hours of the morning with the hope of catching the big one, but only a handful managed to reel in some fish. Awasele Village Council Chairperson Ataleo Siakia said that the number of fishermen in the canoe category this year has increased in comparison to previous years, which is a good indication of the popularity of this event. However, the day would not have been a success without the support of the village, local sponsors, volunteers and fishermen. The top prizes for the day, Morgan Mangatungia was the overall winner, catching the biggest fish on the day, a dog-tooth tuna weighing in at 47.5 kilograms, followed by Hinemoa Makaia with his fish that was 38.7 kilos, and Simatane Vesi with a tuna at 12.87 kilograms. Masini Holo Langalonga collected a prize for first place for the total catch of bottom fish. The Fisherman of the Year for 2016 went to Morgan Mangatungia. The Awasele Village Fisherman for 2016 went to Hine Makaia. About 7 boat fishermen scaled the waters for hours, but only 2 boats returned with fish, far less than those that went out on canoes. BJ Rex, Korte Wahoo and Atapana Siokimoto placed second. The hope is that the Marine Day will continue to grow, but the village is now looking forward to their annual show day this coming weekend. And that concludes our news bulletin for this evening. Do enjoy the weekend ahead, and don't forget to check out the Awasele Village Show Day this coming Saturday.